Guys, talking about all this officiating had me thinking, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm actually going to plug another podcast on our podcast. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Whistleblower yet, it's about the NBA officiating scandal about 12 years ago with Tim Donaghy. It's just incredible. It's a 10-part series. Go have a listen. But it talks about, ref possibly fixing a game, but it goes well beyond that to league officials and them wanting specific teams and specific, finals and things like that because it created more revenue for the league. Now, coming from that, we were talking about having a Legends Row of the worst officiated games in sports history, or we'll even throw in the worst possible calls, which make you question if everything's on the up and up of that game. So we're going to bring it to you guys. I'll let one of you guys start us off first. Which game is on your Legends Row of the worst officiated?
Robbie, you want to start?
I don't want to say the most obvious one because I want to save that for the end because I want to talk about it because I wanted to talk about it for years and it's never come up. So I'm going to save that one. I'll bring up one that from the same year though that I don't know if people are going to remember this. The 2002 World Cup, which was in South Korea, I believe, which was as fixed of forget bad officiating. I've got 3 here that were fixes. That was a fixed event. The referees, I believe the referee that ref the Italy South Korea game was actually sent to jail because he added 10 minutes of extra time to a game to allow a team to come back and win or tie. So
not that game.
Not this game, but another game. Yeah, and I believe he died in prison actually. So that was one of the worst. That was a fix. I mean, it was a blatant fix. That wasn't even bad officiating. The fix was in.
And then following that game against Italy, they went to play Spain, and the same thing happened, where South Korea just got all these calls, and all of a sudden you have South Korea, who had never done anything in international soccer before, all of a sudden in the semifinals of a tournament that they were
those powerhouse Koreans.
I wonder why people don't trust the FIFA Association. I can't figure out why we can't trust them. I don't know.
No, not at all, man. Come on, guys. Qatar's got the World Cup. We knew they were gonna get it. All right, I'll jump in here. I'm gonna go. I guess. Listen, I'm gonna bring back some memories. But how can you talk about bad calls and missed calls? You got to talk about the Gretzky high stick on Gilmore. I think there's enough to be said there. Missed call cost the year. That was our cup, man. That was our cup.
What's hilarious is that he says he didn't see it, but the puck is right there. I don't know what else are you looking at if you didn't see that high stick. Even if you're in a difficult angle, you're looking in that direction. You see a stick come up. You see blood after. I mean, 1 + 1 = 2.
He was on Chicklets though. He said he was blocked out. He said
he's full of shit.
He got blocked.
No, I don't buy it. If you look at the play,
you bring your friggin' linesman in there and you ask them because that is a major call and there's no way all 3 guys on that ice missed that. So that's where you bring them in and you talk about it.
And this is why listening to that Whistleblower podcast makes me question these things now. Looking back at that, the Habs had already made the finals. Do you think the NHL wanted an all-Canadian finals? Or do you think they wanted Los Angeles in the finals with Wayne Gretzky? Yep. What's better for the game, really? The growth of the game in the U.S.
You got it.
It makes you question a lot. It makes you question a lot, that's for sure.
All right, Joe.
I'm going to go with a little fixed series here. The 2006 finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat. The Mavericks took a 2-0 lead in the series, and then the Heat stormed back and ended up winning the series. Dwayne Wade, in a 6-game series, shot so many free throws, he almost set a record for the most free throws shot by one player in a series. And he did it in 6 games. The record is by someone who did it in 7 games. He was 2 free throws off of that in one last game.
Can I ask who had the record? Was it a center?
I don't know that. Why, do you have an idea who it would be?
I just imagine it would be a center, not a point guard or a shooting guard.
Yeah,
it was Ed Monix.
Yeah, Fucking Vakaitis had the record before.
Vakaitis.
And apparently, if you bring this series up to Mark Cuban, who is of course the owner of the Mavericks, he is like, it sets him off. Like he doesn't even wanna. He can't even think about it. He can't
punch
even
in the face.
Yeah, pretty much.
They got him. They got them back. They got him back in 2011. The league handed it back. It was a redo, or 2010.
It was
2011, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll go next. I think I'm hesitant to say a fix on this one, but without doubt, one of the worst calls. And the timing was really odd at this. The '96 New York Yankees with the Jeffrey Mayer over the fence call that I was an 11-year-old boy at home that said, "Oh, he grabbed the ball over the fence," from at home, sitting in Toronto, was able to make that call. And the referee right down the line couldn't make it. This was like pre-Yankees when they had gone through basically like 15 years of garbage, and it really makes me question. That was a really competitive series with Baltimore. It was against Baltimore, and it was either a bad call or a fix. And either way, that makes my list.
All right. I'm going to go with... so many good ones here. Well, I'm going to stick to what I know. I got to go with the Brett Hall skate in the crease. No goal, they say. Dallas and Buffalo, 1999 Stanley Cup Final. Can you imagine a call in games... Was it game 6? I think it was game 6. Sorry, game 6. But can you imagine a call going upstairs and costing, like they're all on the ice and cheering and celebrating a Stanley Cup, and the ref has the balls to say no goal? You know what I mean? They have to pick all their equipment up and go back onto the bench. That was that was close, man. I don't think that was a goal. I don't know.
I think the footnote to that is all season, not just that play, all season they called that rule. Like, I mean, your foot was touching the line. It was no goal. And there was no way they were calling. You couldn't call that back. They brought the Stanley Cup out.
Can you imagine, Bettman?
Who got it? Was it Medano? Give it back. I agree. It was without doubt a no goal. But how do you call it? That's what teams should do: score a goal and just send everybody on the ice and start throwing their equipment all over the place.
I used to do that in hockey.
Just send everybody on the ice.
Luis, when the boys scored a goal and it was like, we don't know if it went in, I said, just go to center ice. Just go to center ice.
Throw your gloves up in the air. Just start celebrating. Anyway, Joe.
One of the worst officiated games. You guys aren't going to believe that I'm actually going to put this up there because my team benefited from it. But the Super Bowl 40, the Steelers and the Seahawks. The Steelers benefited from just a number of calls that went their way. And I believe an official from that game actually came out a couple years later and admitted that they either messed up or missed a bunch of calls. And say la vie. It's nice to be on the right side of terrible officiating for once. I got to say that. So, yeah, if you have a chance to go back and watch that Super Bowl, I don't know why. I'm not saying it's fixed. I think it was more of a case of just a terribly officiated game. I don't know why they'd want. Yeah, go ahead, Rob. You got your hand up. Go ahead.
I have a theory. The year before, I believe the Steelers were 15-1 and got beat by the Patriots.
Correct.
And I believe the next year was Jerome Bettis'. Was that his retirement year?
It was.
And they were a wild card team.
And they were in Detroit, his hometown.
In Detroit. And these guys decided to go and do all your dirty work and take out Tom Brady and the Patriots.
That's right. And,
yeah, because you guys weren't going to beat the Patriots.
No.
they weren't going to beat the Patriots.
No. We don't do that.
You had to send your goon squad over here to go do it for you, and then
Snake Plumber.
That was yeah. I just believe in, like, just watching Peyton Manning in 2016. It's like it happens so, like, it's like Peyton Manning wins his last game, John Elway wins his last game. It's just like what a run though by the Steelers. I remember that Colts game. I believe they fumbled, and it gave
fumbled on the goal line.
It gave the Colts a chance, and still. Uh-huh. But I mean, Bettis' swan song, and that Steelers team was really good. That was a 15-1 team the year before. So,
all right, I'm gonna leave. Is that me or you, Rob?
I'll go next, and I'll go one for Frank here. A little bit outside the realm of sports, but in sports entertainment.
Don't you dare!
I'm going with it.
Don't you dare!
The screw job.
Oh yeah.
The Montreal. Hey, man, that was bad officiating.
Very
You
good.
just made Frank's night, adding a wrestling.
Oh, but I'm coming back with another one. But very good, Rob. Very good.
I think the fix was in. I always thought the fix was in at WrestleMania 12 with the Iron Man match, which was still my favorite match of all time, because I thought it was illegal. But now I'm thinking, all right, the story for another day. But the screw job, without doubt, that was
nice.
I mean,
very
it was
nicely
fixed.
done.
It was fixed. So
believe it or not, Rob, wasn't on my list.
Wow, that's a
But
surprise.
Nicely done. Okay, so if you're going to take mine, I'm going to take one of Joe's. I think this one's obvious. Now I'm going to go with two of them, but it's the same type of kind of missed call. But Hand of God, 1986, Maradona, Hand of God. Also Thierry Henry with France and Ireland. If you guys, I think that was it the last couple World Cup qualifiers back. Blatant, absolutely blatant. Which cost Ireland, right? So, you know what I'm talking about, eh, Rob?
That Henry one was so. Yeah. I mean, the Hand of God.
He was better off just batting it down.
He grabbed it and put it. Oh my goodness!
He grabbed
it.
He palmed it.
Go watch it. Go watch it.
So, Hand of God. That's mine. Sorry if I took that one, Joe.
Oh, that's okay.
What else you got?
We could talk about figure skating because there was a couple times where Canada was screwed. You know, was it the 2002 Olympics when Jamie Salé and David Pelletier were like there was the fake judge or something, and then there was another thing with ice dancing with
Morgan
Riley's girlfriend,
French judge, right? The French judge.
Yes.
Oh, geez, what's her name? Cute too.
That's Virtue.
Yeah, that's it.
Scott Moyer, there was something going on with that, but let's bring it to the pinnacle of fixed games. Bobby, can you just end this segment off? The granddaddy of them all. Tell us about the most fixed game in sports.
I would love to. I just want to do one more.
Okay, go for it.
Just for the ladies, I just thought of this because now Frank reminded me of this. The 2012 Summer Olympics, Olympic soccer, Canada versus, I believe it was the U.S.
It was, yep.
Where that was a fixed game. I'm sorry. And shout out to Christine Sinclair, who's not listening to this, but
she had a hat trick that game.
She was unbelievable. And I've never seen, they called the 6-second rule, which I've never, in my years of playing, watching, thinking FIFA, I've never seen that call before in my life.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's go with the Mac Daddy of them all. And I will basically go to my grave. You can tell me all you want about being on the level and this and that. I was a 17-year-old kid who loved the game of basketball, but it's the one sport that I couldn't officiate. I couldn't tell you what a foul was distinctively. I know what I know what a penalty is in all sports. As a high school Kobe, Shaq, Laker fan, I watched the 2002 Western Conference Finals, and I said to myself, something doesn't look right here. Like, I feel like they're getting a lot of the calls. And it is the Mac Daddy, and I believe it's the inspiration of this Legends Row. Joe, why don't you tell us about what you think of it?
Oh, it's so, and this is one of the things that was brought up in that whistleblower was that the NBA wanted certain matchups. The Nets had made the finals from the Eastern Conference, so if Sacramento would have won that series, it would have been the Sacramento Kings versus the New Jersey Nets. Not a huge ratings booster with that matchup. But if you have the Lakers in there with Shaq and Kobe, it's a different story. The Kings were up 3-2 in the series. They go to LA, and basically LA got every call. 2 or 3 of the Kings' top players got fouled out early in the fourth quarter, which basically allowed Shaq to do whatever the heck he wanted.
There are 2 centers fouled out. They had to put in, I can't remember his name.
And this is when Shaq was allowed to do whatever he wanted. Like, you know what I mean? And then the Lakers shot so many more free throws in that fourth quarter.
26
And they still only ended up winning the game by like 4 points.
in overtime.
Was it OT?
It was overtime. That game went to overtime. That's how good. When everybody's like, oh, we've never seen the Golden State Warriors before. No, we saw them. It was the 2002 Sacramento Kings. And that Lakers team was an all-time team. That is a top 4 or 5 team of all time. And they were dominated in 5 of the 7 games. And yet they found a way to win because, I mean, if the NBA was the mob, I mean, Dick Bavetta was basically their best hitman. And they just sent him to they just sent the call, hey, Dick, we need you here. And he was
Dick
like, no problem. He
He's
was
a
regarded
company man referee.
Company man. And
He
when you hear
knew-
company man, oof.
He knew what was beneficial for the league.
And I'm really happy you guys brought this up because last week I talked about officiating in the Raptors game. And I talked about Nick Nurse. And Joe, you said you feel like the Raptors get a lot of bad calls. And I think
I know they do.
But I believe the issue is, and first of all, I want to say, if you think you got bad calls, just rewatch Game 6. I mean, as the worst officiating game I've ever seen. But part of the problem is that we watched regional telecasts. I thought Bill Walton did a great job, which is who was broadcasting for NBC, who basically was calling out the NBA and the officials all game and like, that's a bad call, that's a bad call. Even though his son was actually on the Lakers at the time, Luke Walton was on the Lakers. And I think sometimes when we hear Jack Armstrong and Matt Devlin, I believe, and Leo, they're constantly complaining about the refs. That's where you guys think that these calls are bad. Where if you listen to national broadcasts, when the Raptors were in the finals, and you listen to the who had the finals? Was it TNT?
Ooh.
I believe TNT had it. It was the Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson,
Kenny Albert.
I think,
no,
it was those guys, and they had and when you listen to the national broadcast, they're very impartial. Whereas when you listen to the regional broadcast, you get these biased views. But that was an awful game. You missed Shaq. Bill Walton. Bill Walton said Shaq was growing roots in the lane, basically ignoring the 3-second rule. Samaki Walker hit a 3-pointer to end the half. That was about 3 seconds after the buzzer from half court. It was bad, man. And the NBA I'll give them all the credit in the world because they've done great. They're the second best league in the world, but their credibility would have been easily destroyed with that one game where people would have just said, we're just watching wrestling now. It was fixed. They are so lucky that they dodged that bullet. And it was David Stern just denied it until forever. I mean, they talked about the 85 draft. They didn't really go too much in the 85 draft show in that episode.
Yeah. Go
watch conspiracy theories on the 85 draft with the bent envelope and the frozen envelope and Ewing to the Knicks. It was all too coincidental. And I can deny the draft one. You can't deny 2002. And imagine being a Kings fan. You got one shot.
They have never been even close to as good as that team.
No, and they were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the NBA. Of 20 years of irrelevance, they have this prominent team, and it just gets stolen from me. I have nothing but sympathy for that. If any Sacramento Kings fan ever wanted to come on here and talk, I would give them the platform because I can't imagine the frustration. Like that was literally, they had no chance of winning. It was 8-on-5.
If you're listening, just go ahead. There's numerous videos out there of this one game highlight packages that just show the sheer.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, you have to.
Go watch. It's called The Greatest Tragedy in Sports. It's like an 8-part series. I watched it like 3 or 4 times. Unbelievable.
I'll grab the 8 minutes on YouTube. Thanks.
There was one play where Mike Bibby fouled Kobe Bryant Mike Bibby's nose fouled Kobe Bryant's elbow when he elbowed him in the face. It was so bad. It was so bad. And Bill Walton's like, that's a bad call. It was all game.
So you guys have any honorable mentions before we close up shop?
I don't, but I'm sure you do.
Okay, so let me throw out a couple here. Maybe we just kind of the honorable mention. some of the bad calls or or fixed games, as Rob would call them. So I have to bring up the perfect game from Galarraga, the pitcher from the Detroit Tigers, who the first base umpire, Jim Joyce, missed it by about 8 feet.
Missed it by
that much.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. Pretty recent pass interference call, Saints and Rams. That had some big impact to that call. I think that's got to be noted. How about this one? Where do you guys felt about this one? About the Fail Mary with the replacement referees. Remember that one? Seattle and Green Bay?
That's what really made me dislike Pete Carroll. Watching him celebrate after that, after you stole a win, it's just disgusting. Disgusting human being for me.
You want to know why I remember that game so much? I had a perfect Pro Pools ticket. Yeah, that one.
I'm sure a lot of people had.
Yeah. And last but not least, Robbie, I'm going to touch on it. I was going to throw a wrestling one out. He paid for the plastic surgery, brother. What happened? Hogan Andre, 1988, the main event where Hulk Hogan, after a 4-year undefeated streak of being the WWF champion, lost in dramatic fashion to Andre the Giant when apparently the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, paid for the plastic surgery for the ref to look like the other ref when there was no internet around and we knew nothing about this. They're actually twins, Dave and Earl Hebner. But the story was that the $1 Million Man paid for the plastic surgery and screwed Hogan out of the WWF title, leading to a tournament at WrestleMania 4. If you haven't checked that YouTube clip out, you got to check the interview out. It is gold. That was the only way to get the belt off Hulk Hogan because he wouldn't drop it any other way. Go figure.
A fixed event inside of a fixed event. That is just, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't want to end on a wrestling one, so I'm going to give one. Then the Levon Hernandez. Do we know what the referee's, the umpire's name was?
No, we don't.
Go watch those clips. They were beautiful.
Just a bit outside.
Rick Wild Thing Vaughn was closer to the plate in his first appearance in some